So here's the thing. Would you vote for Labour? This is in fact, let me just start off on this vibe here, because there's some strange things going on, not just in this country, in the world of politics. The tale of two countries, if you like. You'll be aware of this by now. Over there in Italy, we're hearing phrases in the news about the far right about to get into government. The extreme right, the hard right, are going to gain power. The first time since the war that something like this has happened. They will have a new Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. She's in her 40s. She's been politically active from her teens. She's a Christian. She's anti-abortion. She's anti-same-sex marriage. That just gives you a flavour. I don't consider any of that, by the way, to be far right. Arguably and traditionally, those views do sit more right than left, but to define them as hard or extreme is merely a political position to try and discredit her. You might disagree with those views, by the way. The last time I looked, it's perfectly legit to hold those views. So simple as that. An interesting rise to the top, by the way, because at the last election, her party polled just 4%. 4%, but a lot has happened in Italy since then, and times are changing. So you can define her as you like, and there's no doubt that this is a party that is firmly on the right. I mean, if you think of the Berlusconi time in power and then travel a few thousand kilometres to the right, you get the picture. The history of her party is kind of linked to the old Mussolini ideology from back in the day, but this is democracy, and that is what people have voted for. So just keep that in mind, that Italy are going in that direction. Meanwhile, over here in the UK, according to the latest polling, if there was a general election tomorrow, we would be voting in the Socialists with a 56-seat majority. Keir Starmer would become Prime Minister and the Tories would disappear. Even Boris Johnson's own seat, Ruislip and Uxbridge, would be eaten up by the left. The disquiet among the electorate over recent events, not really the cost of living crisis, I would suggest, but actually the reaction to the cost of living crisis seems to be the problem. It's meant that many people are loaded with anger. It's completely backfired on the Tories, and it's worth giving this some context, by the way. 2019, Boris Johnson returned an 80-seat majority for the Conservatives. The Tories hadn't seen anything like that for many, many years. Now, you can argue why or how he got the 80-seat majority, depending on which analysis you read on this. There are many factors on it. Yes, there's obviously Brexit, but we know Corbyn was a big issue and as big for some. But an 80-seat majority is huge. And it's not just, and this is where this story, I think, becomes fascinating. 80-seat majority is not just an incredible result to get and significant for the 2019 election, but every piece of political thinking would conclude that you would hold on to power at the next election. Even if you halved your majority, opposition parties simply don't overturn 80-seat majorities. Impossible, cry the psephologists. Simple as that. I mean, I mentioned Boris Johnson's constituency. That would be just one of 154 that would turn red, with the Tories projected to fall to just 211 seats. A number of those red wall seats would turn Tory for the first time since the 2019 general election. It was just an experiment, they cry, and didn't work. They would also return to Labour control. So look, I get it. It's one piece of polling, but the predictions are being taken incredibly seriously over there at Conservative Party HQ. This isn't a prediction of a reduced majority. This is talking about a slaughter of your majority, an eradication of your position. 80 seats turned to dust, Labour coming in, overturning and coming back with 56 seats. For some people, that would also be a landslide. It would certainly be a handsome majority. 56 seats. So is this about... It could be about many things. I said at the beginning, I sense this is probably more about the reaction to the cost of living crisis. Now, I don't know how far you have to go with this. They've paid people's wages with furlough. They're paying people's energy bills with 150 billion quid's worth of money going into the coffers for that. On top of that, if you're in the poorest area of the financial ladder, as it were, you don't pay any tax at all. And that direction of travel has continued. So the Tories will have a lot of reason. I don't know whether was it the 45, 40p thing that has really kind of done it. It was the worst kind of PR you can imagine. It's not about trickle-down economics, by the way. No, I've not heard a single Tory say that's why it happened. I've just heard a lot of people on the left almost creating the straw man argument that that's what it was all about. Yeah, it was trickle-down. No, it's not that. I think the Tories nipped it from 45 to 40 because philosophically they are the Conservative Party, and if they want to be seen as a Conservative Party, that's the kind of thing they would do. It's not all for rich old duffers. There's quite a few people. And, if you're a manager of a large supermarket, you would fall at some point into that top rate of tax. So it affects lots of people. So there's that element to taking it from 45 down to 40. There is another point on this. Some people would argue that's just fair. That is fair. If you're right at the top, you've got 19% down there and 45% up there. Some would say, do you know what, that's just not fair. You might disagree with that. So it's not being designed to do a few rich old duffers a favour. It's not being designed to look after their mates in the city, which is the line that's always wheeled out. And it might be wholly wrong, but it wasn't designed for those reasons. It was designed because the Conservatives philosophically believe it to be a fairer system. If it trickles down, then fantastic. I mean, clearly there's more money around. If you're suddenly £5,000 a year better off, you might not be so reserved about buying that new car. That's possible. But I think the prime reason was that it was just the Conservative thing to do. The optics of it are absolutely horrendous, right? They are absolutely horrendous, because this just looks like the tired old trope of the Tories looking after the rich and who gives a toss about the poor. That's how it feels, and that's how it looks. Is that the reason why we have seen this incredible prediction that the Labour Party will gain power in 2 years' time with a 56-seat majority? Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, Rachel Reeves as Chancellor, Angela Rayner on the front bench, David Lammy, no doubt, giving it large at the dispatch box. So a few of those faces that half an hour ago you wouldn't have trusted out the back mowing the lawn are suddenly looking and sharpening their pencils, ready for power. 0344 499 1000. I can only really put the question like that. Would you vote for the Labour Party? And talk to me, by the way, if you are a previous Labour voter that went Tory, would you revert? If you're someone who's never voted the Labour Party, would you give it a go based on the fact that you think this lot haven't got a clue? I mean, I think it's way too early to judge the Truss administration. She's only been there for 20 minutes, for goodness sake. Was it the tax thing? Was it that? They could have done it better, couldn't they? They could have said, you know what, the real area that we want to tackle will be things like business rates, maybe VAT and fuel. Because that's really tangible, right? Okay, it's going to be 170 a litre at the moment, whatever the heck it is, it's going to be 150, right down there, 50p cheaper than it was a few months ago. That, I think, would have been optically the best thing for them to do. Helping out everyday people and tangible, demonstrable evidence that you are doing that. 0344 499 1000. So taking this, and again, I stress, it's one poll, but what marks this out, two things that mark it out, certainly my sources at Tory HQ tell me that no one went to sleep the night that this poll came out because they were concerned that this is going to be the direction of travel. So there's that, and it's the size of the prediction. This is not suggesting the Tories might lose some seats. This is suggesting annihilation for the current government.